So Dad, we're now at the point that you've come back from Egypt and you were around the age of 22 and you told us that you got a job at English Electric, is that correct?
Mm.
And at this point you were still living in Hurst Way?
I was.
Okay, so how long did you work at English Electric?
Until 1960.
Okay, and is that where you met Roy?
I met Roy before that.
You met Roy before that?
Yeah, before that, yes.
Okay.
About 68, I suppose.
Okay. So where did you meet Roy?
At English Electric.
Okay.
We worked in the same workshop together.
Okay. So what kind of work were you doing?
Just assembly work, but it was mainly on the prototype build of the missiles that we was making.
Okay.
Because that was their line of business, was guided missiles.
Okay. But you also have said that one thing that was very important to you was still your involvement with the Scouts.
Oh yes, very much so.
Okay. And the Scout group at that time was called?
The 7th Luton.
The 7th Luton.
Yeah.
And where did you used to meet for the 7th Luton?
In Biscuit Church Hall.
In Biscuit Church Hall. Is that still there?
No, the hall has been pulled down and its houses built there.
Okay, so it's no longer there.
The hall was built First World War. It's the First World War Army hut.
So it's quite an old building.
Old, very old, yeah.
And then with the Scouts, did you stay there or did you move?
Oh, we moved out of that hall. We had to.
You had to move,
yeah.
Okay. Where did you move to?
To Bursford Lane.
To Bursford Lane.
Yeah. We were very fortunate because the chairman of our group worked for a company in Welwyn Garden City, and they were rebuilding a lot of their factory, and they had a lot of wooden buildings, and that was it.
Okay.
They we took one of their buildings off their hands,
okay, so that was
and rebuilt it in Bursford Lane.
Okay, so you rebuilt it then. So can you remember the kind of things that you did with the Scouts around that time? Because you've just told me that you didn't want to go to the usual mainstream camping places, that you chose some different locations. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, we used to camp up in the Lake District. Was one favourite spot. And that was very nice. It was in the village, near the village of Grasmere.
Yeah.
And that was very nice, and we was very fortunate. I can't really remember it raining. It must have done, but I can't remember it raining.
And where else did you camp with the Scouts?
At near Capel in North Wales. That was a nice spot. And again, we was away from the real high mountains, and so the weather was comparatively good.
Okay.
Compared with if you camped in the mountains themselves.
So did you go orienteering?
Oh.
From the campsite?
Yeah, we used to go climbing. Yeah.
Okay, right.
Find a footpath and walk to the top and back again.
Can you remember any of the friends that you had around that time? Any of the people that you knew through scouting? I know it's a long time back. Perhaps you can't.
Well, I can remember one family. Both their sons were involved, and they lived down in Hurst Way.
So near to where you live?
They used to, yeah.
Okay.
And that was very good.
Yeah.
It was nice, quite a useful chap.
Yeah, but no girls were allowed in scouting.
No girls in the,
just
no
boys at that particular point.
No, they hadn't. Hadn't even got girls in the senior section. It was an all-boy movement.
Right. So you were doing the Scouts, very involved with the Scouts, and then you said that that's when you met Mum, Sylvia, around that time. So where explain where you met her.
at Biscuit Church Hall.
At Biscuit Church Hall. Okay.
Yes, it was the dance. It was a dance in the church hall, and I in those days I got a loudspeaker system, so a couple of loudspeakers, amplifier, and a record player along there, and I provided the music.
So you were kind of DJ then, really?
Well,
by modern standards.
MC.
You were the MC Raymond.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's when I
met Sylvia.
Yeah, and you had a dance, is that correct? Okay, so... And
I escorted her back to her friend's house in St Athabas Avenue.
Right, very romantic.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
All I had in those days was a bicycle.
Okay.
And that was a bit of a problem.
Okay. Did Roy have a motorbike as well then?
No, he had a car.
Oh.
All sorts of cars, but...
So he had a car, you had the motorbike, and then you used to go out on your fun Saturday.
Yes.
So that was the main night that you looked forward to?
Oh yes, Saturday night was...
it was a big night.
Our night out.
Okay.
So it's awfully for a start, for a couple of drinks.
Yeah.
And then we'd move off to one of the other villages further over.
Yeah.
And have a couple of drinks there. And then drive back to Luton and land up in the Chinese restaurant.
I remember you saying,
in Wellington Street.
Wellington Street. Is that still there?
There's remains of it are still there.
Okay. So that was your first time you had Chinese food then?
Yes, I think...
So, you just said that the only form of transport you had at this time was a bicycle. Okay, just a bike. But you obviously needed a bit more speed than the bike could provide. So tell us a bit about what bike you had.
Well, I got it was a bicycle, but it had a wheel, it had an engine in the rear wheel. It was a wing wheel, I forget what it was called, but that was it.
Okay.
A little 50cc engine.
So it gave you a bit more speed?
Yes, it was most essential because I worked at the airport.
Right.
And lived in Limbury, or Ligro, and had to get up
the hill.
Up the hills.
Yes. Yeah.
2 hills to get to the airport. And so I got this wing wheel.
Otherwise it would have been a bit much going up 2 big hills on a push bike. So you were with Mum, so did you used to travel on the winged wheel?
Oh, not with Mum, no.
No, but did you used to go from Leagrave to Hyndon to see her?
On the wing, on the bike, but I think I'll get it right. I think I'd changed and I got a motorbike.
Right. So you really went upmarket.
I'd upmarket.
Yeah. And what kind of motorbike was it?
A BSA Bantam.
Okay.
125cc.
Was that powerful?
It used to manage to get me and Sylvia from point A to point B.
Okay,
yes.
so Mum used to sit on the back.
Yeah.
Okay, and at this point, you have told me that you had a fun Saturday where you used to meet up with friends. You would then use the bike. Mum would be on the back of the bike. Just take us through what your Saturday night was like.
Well, we'd given up motorbikes then. I think I still got a motorbike.
You still got a motorbike.
I still got a motorbike up to the time I was married. But it was a bit of a problem getting from point A to point B. The 2 of us on a motorbike. No, not on. So Roy used to pick me up.
Okay.
And he lived over at Markyate.
Yeah.
So he'd come from Markyate across to Leagrave, pick me up and Sylvia up.
Yeah.
And off we'd go to our Saturday night drinking.
Okay. So where did you start off on Saturday
We started
night
off at
drinking?
the Cock and Offley.
Okay.
I don't believe it's there now.
I don't think so.
it's gone.
Yeah.
Pulled down. But we was at the Cock and Offley, and then we went to another pub across at Connecticut.
Okay.
Again, couple of drinks, back in the car again, back to Luton, and we'd finish our Saturday evening off with a Chinese meal at the, I forget the name, was it Golden Dragon or something or other, up Wellington Street.
Okay.
And I believe the remains of the building are still there.
Okay.
I don't think it's open as a restaurant
It's a restaurant,
longer,
okay.
but it's,
I think it might be a takeaway.
yeah.
I think it might be a Chinese takeaway,
Yeah.
but I'm not completely sure.
Yeah.
So that was just,
I think, was probably the first Chinese restaurant
yeah.
in Luton.
Right.
And we used to go up there, have our Chinese meal, and then away we'd go.
Right. And was that your regular Saturday night?
That was a regular Saturday evening out, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was there any other places in Luton that you used to go, like dance halls or anything like that?
Well, I got myself involved with the Luton Jazz Club. I was very fond of jazz.
Yeah.
I was a great lover of traditional jazz.
Yeah.
And we started off at the Cresta small ballroom. Well, the Cresta is no longer there, but the small ballroom was right at the top. And they used to have the top London jazz club, jazz bands.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ken Collier and all the names.
The big names.
Big names used to play there. And I got chatting to the guy. He said, "Can you leave me with? Do you want this amplifier?" I said, "Yes." Well, he said, "I'll take it off your hands if you want. We could do one."
Wow, amazing.
Yeah, but no, that was part and parcel. As the establishment, I put the speakers up, nailed them to the wall, and that was it.
Okay.
And I was in there every Wednesday night.
Every Wednesday. And still, is it fair to say that you're still a fan of trad jazz?
I still like
yeah.
a bit of traditional jazz, yes.
And Dixieland jazz,
Yeah, well,
you like?
Dixieland, traditional jazz,
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
Not modern jazz.
No.
No, I can kind of understand that really. So you with Mum then, but you used to go on a Wednesday to a long. Did Mum like jazz?
Well, I don't know. She didn't used to go on the Wednesday evening.
Right. So no, she didn't come on a Wednesday night with you. Okay. So.
But I started off with Wednesday night, but then it was the birth of traditional jazz. Everywhere there was a hall. They had a jazz club or played music.
What, all over Luton or all over the whole
Well, there's about
country?
3 clubs in Luton.
Can you remember the names of the other one? Where the other ones were?
Well, one was at the along Park Street. In the, I forget who owned the building. I think it was one of the airport companies had the building. We used to play there one night, and down at another one up Wellington, not Wellington Street, Upper George Street. On the left hand side, above. I think it's above Days. I'm not sure.
So you said that you really, really enjoyed jazz, and that there were 3 jazz clubs in Luton that you knew of, and kind of jazz was the real thing that had kind of like was a real.
It had taken a launch. It really had taken off in that particular time. It was very popular, and there was 3 or 4 jazz clubs in and around Luton.
Yeah.
And I remember playing, or at least not playing, but taking my equipment along to these clubs.
Yeah.
But the laugh was, what did I take them in? So I hadn't got a car.
Okay.
All I got was a motorbike
Okay.
with 2 pannier frames on the back. and there's one speaker on one side, one on the other, amplifiers tied on the top, all the cables and bits and pieces and the microphone stand in a rucksack.
Oh my goodness.
And off I go.
And off you went.
Yeah.
With all of that.
Yeah.
It must have been a bit of a balancing act at times.
It was a bit of a balancing act,
Yeah.
yes. But then I got a three-wheel car.
Or Reliant Robin.
The Reliant, yeah, well, yeah, yeah. It wasn't a Reliant, right? It was an AC Petite.
AC Petite.
That was a converted invalid carriage.
Okay.
It was sold as a car, as a three-wheel car.
Yeah.
But it was 2 seats in the front,
Yeah.
2 wheels in the front,
Yeah.
one in the back, and that was it.
So you could transport all your equipment more effectively.
That was wonderful.
Okay. What colour was it?
Blue.
It was blue, so you and Mum and the equipment, or
Yeah.
mainly you with the
Well,
equipment.
mainly me, because there wasn't really a lot of room in the car for as passenger along with all the equipment.
Yeah, and Mum wasn't really a huge jazz fan, it has to be said.
She used to enjoy it.
She did it.
She did to enjoy it, yes,
used to
but
enjoy it.
it was also it was transport. She lived out in Harlington.
Yes, yeah.
And that was the point.
Yeah. Yes, it was quite, by to that standards, it was quite a long way, really.
Yeah.
You still continued with the Scouts as well.
Well, I continued with the Scouts, yeah.
And you were saying to me that it obviously had moved to Birdsford Lane. Moved to Birdsford Lane, and
Yeah.
there was a different building to what they have there now.
Yes, it was a wooden build. It was a wooden building. It was a wartime building. That was, the company had decided didn't want them any longer, pulled them down, and the chairman of our group said, "I'll have that." They took the building away, and Harry Fletcher provided the truck, and that was it. Okay. Built on site was a brand new. It was to us a new hut.
Headquarters.
And we had moved in there.
Yeah, but the name had changed, hadn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we had to. In a few years hence, they did away with numbers, and the groups had to have names.
Yeah.
And because around the area, I mean, there was Blenheim and St Joseph's and St Andrews and all these other groups.
So why sell Seventh then?
It would be Leslie Sell was the founder of the group.
Right. Okay.
Leslie Sell organised the group when he met in a building on the other side of the A6. I think it was on the. It was a school. It was a school, and that was where the first 7th Luton met.
Okay. So that.
And.
But the Scout Hut, unfortunately, you said the old Scout Hut came to a bit of a.
Yes, had a bit of a disaster.
Had a bit of a disaster.
Yeah.
So can you just explain what happened?
Well, there was a bit of a fire in the back, and it rather upset the building, the back part of the building, and that all had to be pulled down.
Yeah.
But it still left us with the main part of the main hall was still there. Shortly after that, don't know how it. I don't ask questions. I'll provide a new hut, and that was our group scout leader.
Okay.
Decided he was going to find the money to build a brick-built headquarters.
And who built it? Who built the headquarters?
It was built by contractors who...
Did they work for Harry Fletcher?
Well, yes, they worked
for Harry Fletcher, who remained involved with the Scouts.
He remained involved with us right up to... Well,
okay. And there's a photograph of him.
There's a photograph of him, yes.
Yeah, okay. So, the Scouts are important. You'd met Mum, and you said you were engaged for about 4 years?
Getting on that way, yeah.
Yeah. So you got engaged, and then how long after you were engaged did you intend to get married?
Well, we was going to get married in 1960.
Yeah.
But my mother was taken ill, and that was rather put the mockers on that.
Did you have to cancel it all then?
We had to. Well, we had to cancel the arrangements. All we really organised was the place to have the reception.
Okay, and the church.
The church, well, that was at Harlington,
and
that was it. But we had to cancel that because Mother was seriously ill, and we eventually got married in the March the following year.
And what date in March?
March the 18th.
March the 8th, so just after St Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
March the 18th, you got married, and it was 1961.
Yeah.
You also said it was quite fortuitous it was delayed because this house where we're sitting now wasn't actually ready.
No.
So Dad, you've explained that your wedding was delayed, but you had it on March the 18th, 1961, correct?
Yeah.
So, where did you have the wedding, and just describe what it was like?
Well, the wedding was at Harlington. Married in St Mary's Church, Harlington. The reception was in the church, in the village hall.
In the village hall, yeah.
And after that, we travelled down to Bournemouth.
Okay, well we'll come back to. Were there many guests at your wedding?
Oh, I suppose there was about 60, I suppose.
Oh, that's quite a good.
I think it was about 60.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what did you wear to your wedding?
My blue suit.
Your blue suit, okay. And Mum had the white wedding,
yeah.
the white wedding dress, okay. Can you remember any hymns that you had at your wedding?
No.
You can't remember any hymns that you. Well, it was quite a long time ago. And your wedding reception in the village hall.
Yes.
Was it a sit-down meal you had?
Oh, yes.
So proper sit-down meal.
Yeah.
In the traditional way. And that church is still there to this day, isn't it? Yeah. And I think the village hall is still.
It's still there.
Still on the same site.
Been redecorated,
I should think so. Yeah. Been So you went off on your honeymoon, and where did you go?
Bournemouth.
Bournemouth. Okay. Where did you stay? Can you remember?
Can't remember the name of the establishment now.
Okay. Can you remember much about your honeymoon?
Yes, we went around. We saw what we could see in and around Bournemouth. We went on a day trip across to
Isle of Wight?
Isle of Wight, yes.
Okay.
I went I forgot what the name of the place was. Shelfleet rings a bell, but Yarmouth. We went to Yarmouth. Yes.
Yeah, there was a Yarmouth on the Isle of Wight.
Across to Yarmouth.
Yeah.
And a tour around the island.
Okay.
And then back again, and that was one day.
Yeah.
I looked round. Bournemouth was a super little town to visit. Shops, nice shops there, and
restaurants and things like that. You were cut by the coast. Were either of you keen on swimming in the sea?
Wouldn't be swimming in the sea in March, no.
Of course, you wouldn't be swimming in the sea in March. No. But after March, you know, in the summer, did either of you like swimming in the sea?
Not particularly,
Not particularly.
No.
And you weren't particularly sunbathing beach kind of people
That
ever?
was more or less, what we used to enjoy was just travelling around and seeing all the various places.
Okay.
Sightseeing.
Sightseeing, yeah.
There was far more interest to see that than to
lie on the beach.
lie on the beach.
Yeah. But that was something that continued through all of your married life, really, wasn't it? You were never really beach people.
In fact, I don't think we went to very many beach sort of holidays.
No.
They're mainly countrywide, you know, sort of Lake District, North Wales area.
So you were living in this. You were living in this house, and you moved into this house after your honeymoon, and in '61 it was ready. Can you remember what it was like when you moved in?
Cold.
Cold. Cold. Why was it so cold?
Well, all we had was a boiler in the kitchen in the corner, and that used to fire up, and it used to heat a radiator in the hall, and a radiator in the well, I know it's the hall.
One in the hall, yeah. What about upstairs?
And yes, there was one upstairs as well.
So it was cold.
It was cold.
It was. Yeah, and is it fair to say, I can't remember historically, wasn't there a very cold winter as well around that time?
Bitterly cold.
With a lot of snow.
Yeah.
So it was cold and even colder.
And Sylvia's parents, they lived at Harlington still. And we used to go across to Harlington. And
in the Reliant Robin, which is
no.
Robin. What did you have?
Well, after we was married, within a couple of weeks, I suppose, of being married, we bought a Comma Cobb van.
Okay.
The Comma Cobb, and it was a van.
Yeah.
It was a two-seater van with and of course it was very useful. That was twofold purpose, because I'd really expanded my thoughts regarding public address.
Yeah.
And I needed a van to carry the loudspeakers and all that bits and pieces around with me. So.
Yeah. And there was only the two of you.
And there was only the two of us then,
Jill and I were married.
Yeah.
We're married. Jill and I were born.
There.
We weren't born, we were married. You might
have but we had a seat which we just put in the back of the van.
Yes.
When the need arose. I mean, to take it out when it was, but it was, I mean, dodgy. I mean, you wouldn't do it in this day and age.
Did Roy ever go in the seat? Because you're
no,
still
I don't think Roy used to drive around 9 times out of 10 for going out anywhere with Roy drove.
Okay. So Roy was the taxi then, basically?
Roy was the driver.
Yeah. Okay. So, okay. What was Roy like as a young person? Because he ended up being your friend for life. What was Roy like?
What was he like?
Yeah, when you were younger. A newlywed. Kind of person was he
was
like?
a very helpful person.
Yeah.
Very, very helpful. He used to come along and do odd little jobs. You know, oh, I'll fix that. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah. And we had, in this opening here, bearing in mind it was he put 3 doors.
Oh, okay.
Concertina doors.
Yeah.
So as we shut the back room off from the front to keep a little bit of extra heat.
Yeah.
Because that was just to say, a very, very cold winter, and that was it.
Yeah.
When she had central heating fitted,
Of course.
we took these doors down.
The doors
but,
down. So you described as newlyweds, you moved into this house, which
Yeah.
was very cold. You were still good friends with Roy, who you describe as a very helpful, very practical person,
Yeah.
who helped to build these doors to keep the part of the house warm, really, because there was not only to add to the cold, there was also a bitterly cold winter.
Yeah.
Before, in the 60s, wasn't it? I can't remember exactly what year it was. Okay. But at that time, where were you working then?
English Electric.
You were at English Electric,
Yeah.
okay. And what was Mum working?
Yes.
What did she do?
Oh, she was a librarian. She worked at Boots, because in those days, Boots, the chemist, had their own lending library.
Okay.
And she worked there until such time as Boots decided to close the libraries down.
So was she a librarian when you met her?
Yes,
She was a
yes, she
librarian
was at.
then, okay.
She was working at Boots.
Yeah.
I used to drive down from the airport at lunchtime.
Yeah.
Park my motorbike in Chapel Street
Yeah.
and pop in and see her and drive back again.
Oh,
Yeah.
right, that was a very romantic thing to do in your
Yeah.
lunch break. And where was that library, Boots Library?
On the corner of
Was it Chapel Street?
yeah,
Okay,
Chapel
so
Street. Yeah,
I think it's an estate agent.
Yes,
now,
that's
isn't it?
right,
I think
yeah.
you remember you telling that. So there was a major event that happened to you. So Mum must have got pregnant in 1964. Yeah.
Mm.
And then what happened on the April the 11th, 1965?
There she sits.
Yes, there she sits now, indeed. So where was I born? Where was
Where?
I born?
You were
Whereabouts?
born at Luton Dunstable Hospital
Okay. Why in the hospital and not at home?
because that's where they decided they were going to take you.
Yeah, and was that standard for all new mums then? Is that
I think so.
yeah. And were you able to be there at the birth?
No,
No.
we
So
weren't allowed.
you weren't allowed in that day to be
But
there.
there was a problem. Yeah, I think you came just a little bit early.
2 weeks early.
Just
2
as-
weeks early, I remember
And,
Mum saying.
We was working on a house in I was at the hospital, putting some electrical stuff in there,
Okay.
and it was all disconnected. The house was disconnected,
Yeah.
and suddenly we got a phone call.
Yeah.
Oh dear! So we had to get things working as best as possible. Shoot off up to the hospital and see you.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
But not be there because that wasn't standard.
Oh, it wasn't
to be
standard.
there.
Not those
Okay.
days. So.
Yeah. So Mum had me. You headed up from the house that were kind of bodged up a bit to get up to the hospital.
Yeah.
And was Mum in hospital for very long? Can you remember?
Couple of days.
Couple of days. Okay. And then you brought me back here.
Yeah.
Okay. So, as a baby, was I a good baby? Did I keep you awake all night by screaming?
Yes.
I did keep you awake all night by screaming.
Oh,
and
yes.
can you remember how much I weighed?
No.
That's outrageous, Dad, because even I know that. I weighed £6 4 ounces.
Ah,
Because I remember Mum saying that because I was early. Okay.
Yeah.
So, which room in the house did I have as my nursery room?
the back.
The back room
Yes.
was my nursery. Okay.
Yeah.
And had you decorated it all nicely?
It was all
waiting?
nicely decorated. Yeah.
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 But you wouldn't have known whether you were going to have a girl or a boy.
No.
So.
Oh no, not in those days.
So
no.
you couldn't
It
find
was just
out
a baby, and that
what-
was it.
Just a baby, yeah. So, but obviously we were very delighted because
Yeah.
But you didn't mind either way what you had. You didn't. You weren't disappointed that you had.
Well,
a
you
daughter.
was very you felt we're fortunate you're all in one piece.
Okay.
And
yeah.
you was.
I was then anyway. Yeah. I was then anyway.
Yeah.
So did Mum take time off of Boots then? Did she leave Boots
yes.
then, or did she leave?
She had to leave Boots, and we just carried on, you know, and that was it. She was, Mum was at home. She got very friendly with the wife of the man who helped me with the Scouts.
Okay.
She said, "Got an ideal job for you. I run the children's section round at St Joseph's Church."
Joseph's, yeah.
Oh, you can come up and help. Mm-hmm. So Mum used to cycle up there with you on the back, in the luggage compartment,
Great.
on the back of the bike, yeah.
I never knew that, Dad. I never knew that at all. So she kind of got a new job.
She got a new job.
Who was that then? Who was that? That was her friend. Can you remember who that friend? Pardon?
Coin.
Oh, Coin.
Coin.
Oh,
yeah.
I remember the surname. I remember the surname because we were friends with the children. Yeah. Lived round the corner.
Yes.
Yeah, I do remember the Coin family the name very well. Mum used to cycle everywhere.
We only had one car in those days.
Of course. Well, you had the van, didn't you?
Well, I had the van. That was it.
And Mum used to cycle everywhere. Yeah, with me.
And the van, well, it ran out of steam, shall we say.
Okay.
And we bought a Bedford, or at least a Vauxhall Viva van.
Oh.
Well, it was local.
Of course.
Disaster.
Why was it such a disaster?
Well, it landed up having to be repainted because the paintwork was inside was absolutely disgraceful.
Okay.
And had to take it in and repaint the inside of the van because it wasn't.
It wasn't a good investment.
It wasn't. No. But I kept the van for a good many years.
Okay.
And I used to travel a fair few miles because I worked at Baldock.
So you're in Baldock then. So
that was a daily trip to back and forth to Baldock.
Yeah.
And so I put a few miles in.
On that, right.
Coupled with all the other business
things with your PA. And could Mum drive?
Yes.
So she passed her test
to
drive.
Yes.
Okay, so
I put in for a test, took it, passed it. A few weeks later, your mum, she got in the car and she
passed.
Forgetting what the score was, what vehicle it was we had. I know it was a Comacob at the time. But the car that she was driving with the driving school, she just could not manage it. Somehow, I've got my own car. Right, bring it. And that was it. She got in her own car.
Right, and she passed
it first time.
And you did also, didn't you? You passed it first time. So both of you passed first time, which was pretty good really, seeing your daughter. I passed second time, but I think it took Jill longer to pass her test.
A lot longer.
A lot longer to pass her test.